So thank you everyone for jumping in early and on time for us to introduce to you all Cashed Up. And thank you also to those of you who come and join us for the recording as well. So for those of you who I haven't met, my name's Damien Nicholson. I'm the National Program Manager at Financial Basics Foundation, and my background's in teaching in the Queensland education system. And I've worked as both teacher, IT guy and head of department across many schools in remote and regional parts of Queensland before I came into this role with Financial Basics Foundation. I'm the person who oversees the education programs at the foundation. So chances are, if you've got a question that's education related, I'll be the one that you either talk to or email with. And it's also why I've got the pleasure of running this session today. Just really quickly, I've got the chat window open during this session. So for those of you who are here live, if you can use that chat window to put any questions in as you have them, I'll do my utmost to answer them as we are running live, but I will also make sure that I answer and address them all at the end of the session if I don't happen to catch them in the live portion as well. For those of you who are here live, just letting you know, the aim is to cover this in around 30 minutes, which will give us ample time for Q&A at the end of the session. And if there's not an avalanche of questions, then we may even get an early mark at the end of it. So just a little bit of background for those of you who may not be familiar with Financial Basics Foundation, and you might be a first timer in checking out our resources and checking out the organization. We're an independent charity. We've been around for over 20 years, and we've got some really simple but really deep guiding principles that we really follow quite stringently in everything that we do. So our vision is for financial well-being for all young Australians. Our mission is to enhance the financial capability of young Australians, and doing that by providing quality, independent financial education resources. And if you've been around us, you'll definitely know that we follow our guiding principles strongly, and we are very committed to the well-being and potential of young people, and it informs how we do things. Now, the reason I'm saying all of this is to give you some context, just in case you're a first timer with our resources, as to the depth of what we do and how long we've been doing it in bringing this Cashed Up program to life. So we as a charity are really proud to have members in over 2,000 of Australian secondary schools. We've got over 10,000 members, educated members. There's over 1,000 community organisations that use our resources. And we have currently, before the launch of Cashed Up, we have over 30,000 students a year access our resources. And you can see there, I'm not going to read all of this stuff to you, and I promise you this presentation is not a death by PowerPoint. There's some elements that we're going to cover in PowerPoint, and then the main focus will be on getting hands-on and showing you this exciting new resource that we've got. So when we approach Cashed Up, we are doing it with decades of rich experience, both as an organization and the individuals working in that organization, to bring this new resource to life. So the Cashed Up program is done in collaboration with Australian Retirement Trust. We've worked with them and developed a shared vision on how we're going to bring Cashed Up to life. And we're really, really proud of what we've put together and what we are continuing to develop in the back end that is yet to come up and be published. That's exciting stuff as well. And you'll get a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming next as well today. So what we're aiming to do as part of that collaboration and through Cashed Up is we're looking to fill in those gaps in knowledge, skills, confidence, and capability for young Australians. And we are very, very conscious of the fact that teachers are absolutely slammed at the coalface. And unfortunately, this financial literacy education in a large portion of cases falls to teachers to get across to students. And if students don't happen to get that from their teachers, they may not get it from home either. So I'm really sorry that it does fall to teachers, as do so many other things, but we recognize that it does. And our aim is to actually try and take some of that load off and put some resources in your hands, like we already have done with our current existing resources, put some new resources in your hands to help alleviate some of that burden and make it a little bit easier for you. That's our goal. So again, I'm not reading all of this to you. This PowerPoint will be available as part of the session recording. So if you do want a copy, please rest assured that when it does go up on YouTube, when we have the recording available, that'll be within 48 hours, you'll be able to access this as well. There is some text dense slides just in case some of you may need to take some of this information back to administrators or heads of department or other teachers in your school to share it with them. So please do rest assured, I'm not going to read everything to you. So what we've got with Cashed Up, on the website currently, you'll see the first 3 Cashed Up courses that are published, and they're ready to go, and there's been quite a high uptake already of educators and learners engaging in those materials. Some of you in the live session and the recording may well have already started with the resources. So the Cashed Up program is designed to be these follow the bouncing ball type activities and resources where a teacher can enroll their students and they can choose to be as hands-on or not with their young people, with the aim of the students who do the courses coming out with a baseline of skills, competence, and capabilities from the materials that they've covered. So we've made them quite flexible. We've made it so that they can work in a traditional face-to-face type environment. They'll work in a blended environment. They'll work in flipped classrooms. They'll work as a standalone life skills type lesson. They'll work embedded in the curriculum. And I say that with confidence from the extensive piloting we've done and the extended period we've had Cashed Up in development before we brought it to everybody to share. So, sorry, there was one other element I wanted to do while we're on this slide before I jump over to the overviews. And a really key element of that, and I'll show you as one of the first things we jump into when we move across to the live site, is we have put together some really comprehensive teacher support documentation in addition to curriculum mapping so that a non-specialist teacher can follow along the instructions and information and suggested marking schemes that we've given for the activities. And they can do this with their students without having to do specialist upskilling to deliver the content. A specialist teacher can certainly add their own spin and value and contexts and local contexts and value adds to the program as well. It has all of those elements able to be included in there, just to cover that little teaching element before we move through. So the outlines of the currently published courses, we're not going to go through like reading every single one of these on the slide because I do know that you guys have the ability to read. But what you'll see thematically with all of the Cashed Up courses is we've taken elements that go together and we've put them together so that there's a context and a flow to the learning that the students are undertaking, because we know that is really critical to having success and engagement. And we have that confidence because the Cashed Up resources have all been made by teachers for teachers. They're all done by Australian educators, myself included as one of those people, to come out to Australian educators and their students. So we have put those elements together. We've built it from the ground up from the Australian curriculum. So we know the elements that are in here do connect to a variety of curriculum areas, from economics and business to mathematics and life skills and a range of other spaces as well. And we've grouped those elements together. So the first one, course 1 that was published, was Level Up Your Money Plan, or is Level Up Your Money Plan. Then there's take charge of your spending. And you'll see in there as well that we are grouping those elements together that fit to assist the learner through that journey. What you'll notice as well is that there's also a flow from course to course. However, every course is designed as a standalone element. So a student can do one course of Cashed Up and never do any others, and they can take away the learnings from that, or they can do multiple Cashed Up courses. They can do the Cashed Up courses in order. They can do the Cashed Up courses out of order. They all stand alone, but we have designed it so that if there is, for instance, an educator who wants to do all of the courses with their students and wants to sort of run them in the order that they've been created through the curriculum, that flows really well also. So that's just a note for you all as you're sort of making your decisions on when and how to use this and what you might want to try. And I would suggest to you to really dig in and have a look at the different curriculum mapping and support documents from that educator point of view, to really see what is the best fit for your students, especially if you're on a time crunch and can only choose 1 or 2 of these courses, especially in the short term. Hopefully, as you engage with it and you look to 2025 and beyond, you'll see spaces and places and the value of it to include in your curriculum planning. As a caveat to that, I'll also let you know that in the piloting, a number of teachers slotted this in as extra value add for their students. And I'll show you and talk more to that when you see the live version and see some of the micro-credential elements and things that really engage and benefit the learners as well as the content and the learning. So back to where we just finished up with course 2. And then the third course that is currently published is the Get Ready to Work. And for those of you who may have looked in detail at version 9 of the Australian curriculum and 8.4 for the subjects that haven't yet gone up to 9, you'll note the language and terminology is very much geared towards that latest version of the Australian curriculum. Because Cashed Up is our latest resource, it is being launched in line with the latest version of the Australian curriculum. If you're coming from various states and territories, I am sorry, we don't map to individual state and territory curriculums. We do the Australian curriculum and encourage you to have a look at the different Australian curriculum codes, because a lot of the different states and territories, whilst the code might change, the content descriptor will be very similar to elements that are in your individual curriculum documents. I wish I could provide all of those to you, but for the resourcing allocation of our charity, it is not a practical thing for us to do. So the sneak peek that I promised you would get in the background, so in addition to the 3 published courses, we have these next 3 cashed up courses in the works as well. And they will be coming out. If you keep an eye out on your email, you'll be the first ones to know when the new resources are published to our website, because you get an email from us letting you know that Cashed Up, Start Earning, Build Some Wealth, and Start Adulting are ready to go. And you'll note also what I mentioned, that if the courses were to be done sequentially, they do scale up in terms of, even just if you look at the content, the descriptors and titles, they scale up through the curriculum. So we do begin with the earlier year levels in secondary, all the way through to some of these key elements in students who are finishing their high school journey and moving into being post-school students as well. So we're trying to cover that full spectrum and give you a resource that really meets the needs of you and your learners. And we're also here for support as well. So that's the background elements. Again, please do throw any questions in if you have them. And like I said, for those who come in, I'm seeing more people coming into the live presentation at the moment. Please do keep those coming into the chat window, and I will endeavor to answer them live, or sorry, not live, while we're presenting the elements that you're asking about. Otherwise, I will address them at the end as well. So I've left the website up there for a little bit. For you to go to our main webpage, because you can look at a lot of the cashed up content, even if you're not currently a member of our site. If you're looking at this and going, excellent, I want to jump in on this, take 2 minutes while this session's running and go and sign up to join as a member. It's free. All of our resources are free, including cashed up, and you can then access them. If you are joining as an educator though, please give it some time for that membership to come through, because we have to actually review those manually, because there's solutions for our resources, including cashed up, and we don't want the students to just be able to go and grab those. We do have to put those behind a validated teacher login. Oh, so moving across to live site. What I'm going to showcase first is the learner elements of cashed up. So this is what your learners will see, and this is your learner journey. In this browser, in this browser, I'm actually logged in as a learner. So what you'll see with this one is me going through my learner account and accessing the courses and materials that my teacher has enrolled me into. I know that might sound a little bit back to front, but the learner side of things is a really simple journey and flow for them. They're accessing it to undertake the course materials. There's way more tools and resources available to you as the educator in charge of the course. So we will cover that element second. So unlike our other resources, being the newest resource we've launched, Cashed Up is actually integrated in with our new website and new website database. So young people and educators like yourselves, you need an account on our website to utilize Cashed Up. They're free, again, free for young people, free for yourselves. And if you're an educator that needs to look through the different privacy elements, etc., even though I'm in a young person menu, young person login, I can still show you this menu item. Please do check out the Education Department's safe list info, because it's got all of those key elements and things that you'll need to know. For instance, the Cashed Up is an LMS provided by a New Zealand company, and all their data and data centers are owned by FBF. We maintain all of those and we keep them in Australia. For educators, those are the sorts of questions I know you'll need to ask and answer. And There's also in this little YouTube tab we'll get to at the end of the learner journey, there's a video on there as well that answers some of those key questions. But enough about the teachers, onto the learners. So I've come in, I've got my learner account, I've logged into the FBF website, and as soon as I log in as a young person or a student in your class, generally it'll take them to this course portal. The only element they've got as something they can click through on in that portal, they've got lots of other things they can go to, but in that portal is the financial basics courses that they're enrolled in. And that includes Cashed Up. So they can go to those buttons. They can go and see the courses that teachers have enrolled them into. They can also access that in this course portal here. So when they go through that, the instant that you enroll them in a course, it will appear here. So they will be able to see that within seconds after you have actually put their email address into your Cashed Up course. From there, they hit the dashboard. They are immediately signed in. However, depending on browser settings, they may be prompted to sign in again with their FBF login. Please just get them to do that. I don't expect you to memorize all of these things. There's actually a really detailed, if I go back a step, there's a really detailed learner guide that actually tells in the first few bullet points, those key elements at the top, it tells the learners step by step how to get in and see the courses as well. So please don't think you have to memorize any of these elements. I just want to show you the flow and the journey. So if you don't remember anything else from the presentation other than Cashed Up is amazing and that you want to use it with your students, just remember that there's learner guides and teacher guides that you can just go and access at any time. So if they get prompted with that, just get them to hit that button. It'll get them to log in again with their FBF login details, and that then takes them into this LMS environment. The program is called iQualify. Just explaining that because you will see the little iQualify come up the top there. So it's the Financial Basics iQualify environment. Again, maintained by us. They'll see all the courses they're enrolled in here. For my Damien learner, I'm only in one course, so I've only got the one there, and I can then go to that course and start. Once I'm progressing along as a learner, this will actually change and show me my progress percentage. But I started with the vanilla one here, just so you guys can see that learner experience. When they're logging in for the first time, iQualify will tell them how to go about doing everything around using the iQualify environment. I'm going to go through all of those things. I just wanted to show you that that's there. A lot of students will close that down. So for you, they will start with the overview. When they finish the course and you award them their badge, this will actually change and it'll tell them they've got the badge. And this is a digital and physical micro-credential. So once it's all ready to go, they can click on this and use it for digital resume and digital record keeping as a micro-credential. They can also print it and utilize it that way. And there's a detailed section for students who get the badge. For this learner, I'm at 0%, so I don't actually have the badge yet, but they can see the full details of that. And it's set up with the most modern elements in that regard for them to use it in a variety of instances. So they don't just do the coursework and the content, they also get a micro-credential at the end of it, and they can see all of their progress. They've got the overview that tells them all of the summary relevant information. Then they can go into the contents and they can start working their way through the course. And I just jumped to one section, just being conscious of time. I wanted to have these elements preloaded just so I could give you this overview and snapshot of Cashed Up and hopefully encourage you to go and explore it yourself more fully and look through the guides and look at some of the things that you can do with this with your learners once you get it set up and they get them enrolled. So this is just an example of a page that's in the Cashed Up environment for learners to go through. There's information, it's punchy, it's not too verbose. We've kept to the principles of the most successful LMS principles, and we've implemented those into the course that we're doing to try and maximize that success. Students can also use screen readers with iQualify as well. So if you have students who are utilizing those tools, iQualify have set up the courses to maximize compatibility with most screen readers. So the students have got the information here. They've then got activities. For this one, there's information, then there's a video to watch and an activity to go through based on the content of the page. And in the majority of instances, the task will actually be marked by the iQualify environment. So if I just quickly throw some of these things in, you as a teacher don't need to mark this task. I know with this one that it is simply one, and apologies for my internet as we're doing this one here, but I didn't pay any attention here. Let's see how well I guessed. So I didn't get that right, but because it's not an assessed task, it's a formative rather than summative task. Students can leave this here, or they can reset it and try again, depending on choices you want to make for them or choices they want to make as they're doing the course content. And then they can keep on moving through. So the learners themselves is a really straightforward environment. They can see all their courses. They can go in and continue the courses that they're in. When they have it completed, you certify their completion, then they get the badge. And I did promise I'd show you very quickly this YouTube tab. You'll also see, like I mentioned, that there is a teacher guide with a whole bunch of chapters in there that answer those teacher type questions that you can refer back to as well, or it's also in a separate web page on our website. So now on to the teacher journey. You may hear me changing between the term teacher, facilitator, and educator. They're all interchangeable between our website and the iQualify environment. Please just do forgive me if I slip between those phrases, because iQualify uses the term facilitator, and because we've been so heavily invested in hours of putting all of this together, I may slip into that terminology several times during the session. Please just bear with me. They all mean the same thing. They all mean the teacher in charge of the class. So I mentioned the teacher guide, and I will show this again before the session finishes. But now we're logged in as an educator. I've flipped browsers. I'm now Damien, the educator. So in that educator hub, because I'm logged in as an educator, there's now a bunch more things that can be seen that you have to be logged in as an educator to see, because there's solutions and information that we only want educators to have. And one of the things you can access here is your teacher guide. And this has those common elements and those common pain points that we've identified in the pilot program, including the most common one, which is how do students access the course materials. Especially for existing FBF members, we understand that this is a new process where young people need to have an account on our website to access Cashed Up. We get it, and we'll be here to support you through sort of navigating and get your head around and getting the hang of that new resource. But for us, and just for you, on the help desk, we will be more than happy to guide you through it. And you have these elements you can go and refer to, including videos that go straight to the chapter in the teacher guide that tells you how to go about guiding your students through and accessing the course materials. The biggest suggestion I would give you, teacher to teacher, is get your learners to follow the steps at the start of the learner guide before you try and troubleshoot one-on-one with students, because you will save yourself a monumental amount of headaches. And I say that with having been through this several times piloting, and even since we went live, in getting teachers and learners on board. So please do save yourself some time and headaches, and have a skim through or a detailed read through, depending on your preferences, so that you can see all the things that you can do with the environment as a facilitator, because your students, they can't do any of this stuff. Oh, there's that learner guide again. So yeah, this element here, how they access the courses, that's the most critical element. And that's the most important part to guide them towards. And then there's other stuff on here that will show you what it looks like for a learner, and it'll tell them what they're in for and how to do key elements. But we anticipate, based on pilot feedback, that this section here at the top is the most important element. So get them into looking at that. Save yourself some headaches. So now your teacher journey, as we go through the Cashed Up journey in that regard. From the teacher side of things, you go to our website, you log in as an educator. That gives you access to all of the Cashed Up elements, all of the online courses that we have available. From there, in that Educator Hub menu, you've got this Course Catalogue. And what that will show you, a little bit of summary information, but it tells you all of the courses we've currently got published. As the new courses get published, you'll of course receive an email notification, and they will appear on here. So there'll be 6 in total for Cashed Up by the time that we are finished rolling out this particular part of the project. When you find a course here from those summaries that you think is what you'd like to use, or more of them if you would like to do more than one, and based on the last couple of weeks since we went put these resources live, a lot of educators are doing all 3 of these with their students, which is great to see. But whenever you find the one that you want to use, all you need to do is, if you want to find out more detail, hit learn more. If you want to just start doing registrations, hit get started. But what that brings you through to is the detailed information on that course page. So that includes the course overview that you saw the learners can see as well. So if you want to look through that in detail before making a decision on this course for your students, you can read through all of that. You've got the learning outcomes that are embedded into that course. Now, they're not curriculum elements. These are the learning outcomes that the course has sitting behind it. And then in here, we have those solutions and educator support that I mentioned and the curriculum mapping, and especially these ones here. That's why we don't want learners being able to jump in to the course materials. So when you download those, and these are quite hefty documents because we know the importance of the rigor in here and the contextualization of the information of Cashed Up. So even just looking through the index of the curriculum mapping, it should give you a really good idea of just how much depth we've gone into in finding the most important elements that we can include in these courses and covering those as part of those course materials. And this is done for each course. So this isn't just all 3 or all 6 courses bundled into one. For this one, this is the Level Up Your Money Plan course, and this is the curriculum mapping for that course. So we give you some summary information. We talk about the National Financial Literacy and Capability Strategy and how we're mapping to that. And then we also give important overviews and contextualization for each of the main subject areas that we map to. And then very quickly skimming through, we come down to the curriculum elements that we are mapping to as well. So I know as educators, you know how to use curriculum mapping documents, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. I just want you to know it's there. It is extremely rigorous for each course. And then the bit that we think really value adds and sets Cashed Up apart, aside from how good we know the course materials are, is this information we put together to support the teacher. So this is where it really can help you or other educators that you know or at your school. This is where, even if they're not a specialist in this content area, which we know is one of the biggest hurdles for educators to overcome when covering financial literacy concepts, you can use this support resource to, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the presentation, to follow that bouncing ball, get students to learn, get your students to go through the course materials and work their way through that content. But if you're looking at things like the very, very small amount of tasks that you need to essentially say are complete or incomplete, if you're not sure what to do with those, you can look at it up in here. So we have that page by page, task by task that requires that kind of input and thought from you. We've got you covered if you don't feel comfortable doing that yourself. And when I say minimal, we have kept the teacher marking to an absolute minimum where it is really something that is a custom student response that the LMS can't mark automatically and requires a teacher to look over it and essentially say to the student digitally, yes, that's completed, or no, it's not completed. Here's what you need to do to complete it. We're not looking for you to assign marks or scales or percentages. It's very much almost in the competency style for those of you who have worked in that space, that is the tasks are either complete or incomplete, and then you can hit a couple of buttons to reopen it and get them to resubmit. It's really straightforward. And again, it is all covered in the teacher guide in detail. So your teacher journey in terms of seeing your courses and registering your courses, I need to go back a step. So now that you've seen what those elements are for each course, the solutions, the curriculum mapping, to create a course activation, you literally just need to fill in the information that is in this activate a course section. Make sure you use a class name that's easy to identify in case you do a bunch of these with different classes that you want to easily be able to find your way to the relevant course or the relevant class when you need to. You fill that out, you hit activate, and then they'll all be listed down here. That's it. That's it in terms of creating this course activation. You can then go hit teacher dashboard, and just like the students, that'll take you into the iQualify environment, and you can start managing your class, which is what we're going to get to in about 30 seconds time. If you want to get to this teacher dashboard and you don't want to go through that course catalog every time, which is definitely not what we want you to do. We don't want you to have to do 3 or 4 steps every time once you've registered the class to get back to it. There's also this course management portal we put together where that's going to just list all of your activations. So if you want to do them all in one hit, in the course catalog and then have them all in one place, this is where you go. And again, use a easy to remember class name. That way you can go to the appropriate course and class, hit teacher dashboard, go into iQualify, and you're away with your facilitator management of that course. To get to that, I know I jumped over it, but it's in the Educator Hub, the course management portal. And in your member portal, it's also there as a button and a spotlight. So we're giving you multiple different ways of getting there depending on your navigation preference, but we definitely know that it's important to have a single location to get to all of your courses. So from there, once you hit that teacher dashboard, you'll get the same thing as the students. So you'll either be automatically signed in to either the dashboard or the particular course, or depending on your school or computer settings on your browser, you may be prompted to sign in again. If you are, sign in again. For most people, it will kick them to here. So they'll go to the dashboard, they choose the appropriate course that they want to go and manage, and they go ahead and start managing it. So I hit facilitate, and this is now me as the teacher in charge of this course with all the different tools I've got at my disposal to manage my class and my courses. Sorry, my course and my class. So the couple of most common ones, because like I said, that teacher guide has quite a few elements in it, and in the time we have, and I know we've just ticked over past the 30-minute mark, so bear with me. I am nearly done with the showcasing, and I'll be ready to start answering some of your questions, or if there aren't any, I will just show you the two most common questions that we've had from the help desk since Cashed Up went live. So to add your learners to this course or manage the learners that are currently in there, you just use this little learners card. To add new ones, you can hit add. And if you want to go and do a bulk import, you can follow that process to go and import those learners. If you want to do it manually, you literally type the student email address and hit check. If the student already exists in our database, it'll tell you, and you can add them to your class. And again, this is all in the teacher guide, or it'll ask you to hit a button to add them to your class, and they'll get a notification to tell them that they can now go and use this resource. Again, once they're logged in, once they're added to your course, they will immediately be able to see in their course portal, they'll immediately see that class listed. They can hit the button, they can log in, and they can start learning straight away. They don't have to do anything else once they have an FBF young person account. So you can add the learners in through there. You can add other teachers at your school as facilitators if you like. If you team teach or you have multiple teachers teaching the course, or you are going to be away and someone's taking over your class, or you know who's going to be the supervising teacher and you trust them to be the teacher in charge of it when you're away, you can add other teachers as well, exactly the same way as with the learners. So adding the learners is one of the most common things we get asked. The next most common thing we get asked is how we go about marking the tasks. So literally, the most common way people do it is they go, just keep scrolling down on this page. They see all the learners that they've got enrolled. They can see all their learner progress, and they can see if there's any tasks that are outstanding for them to mark. In this instance, they're all marked. I don't have to do anything with this student, but I can see that, some of these automatic marked ones, that student hasn't passed them, and I can make decisions on whether I want to action that. Again, that's an educated decision. This environment and this console has really rich and deep data that you can dig into either by exploring or by looking through that teacher guide so that you can see what is the most useful and relevant elements to you. When a student gets to 100% progress and they've met the requirements of successfully completing a certain 75% of the tasks, the assessed tasks, you'll be able to award them the badge. We've also set it up so that we're putting the trust in you as the facilitator in charge of the course, so that if for whatever reason we haven't struck this, but just in case it happens, if something bugs out with that student and it's not prompting you to award the badge, even though they've met the requirements and they've got, all the assessment is completed, they've got the 75%, they've worked through 100% of the course materials, you can hit the award anyway and award that student a badge. And if you do it by accident, you can go, oops, and you can revoke it and take the badge away. You have complete control over that. The only thing you can't do, because we're the ones who are issuing this micro-credential, you can't modify the content. But we will give you opportunities to give us feedback if you have suggestions on things you'd like to see covered and added, or if you find that there's errors or issues or omissions, you can certainly let us know. But this is where you go through the learners. If you'd like to go straight to marking, you can go through the individual tasks. Most people we've found go through the learner side of things. And then there's other things that you can do with digging into data insights. You've got this element that you can custom create. I said you can't modify the content. You can certainly do custom quizzes and questions and activities, little activities with your students, this thing called pulses. Again, all detailed and broken down step by step in your teacher guide. I'm looking to do the showcase and hopefully get you to the point where you're looking at all of this and going, this is fantastic. I want to jump into it. When can I start? And when can I start enrolling my students? So I know I went 5 minutes over the 35 minutes, but in a nutshell, this is cashed up. It's now live. You've got all these courses available to you. They are all built from the ground up to the Australian curriculum, the latest version of the Australian curriculum. We know they have depth. We know they have rigor. We know they have worth, and they bring students along in their skills and capability and knowledge. All we're relying on now is for people like yourselves to access them, utilize them, give us some feedback on them, and encourage and spread the word to let other people know it exists, because we're a small charity. All of our resources are free, and one of the ways we keep it that way is we dedicate a lot of funding to those free resources, which means that you won't see us doing big splashy ad campaigns. We rely on that word of mouth, and we rely on our members seeing the value and spreading the word, so that we then find other members to come and join us and see the great resources that we've got. So just while you have a think, if there's any other questions or any questions you want to throw in there. Like I said, I will cover the two most common ones. The other thing that I encourage you to do is have a look through that Educator Hub and have a look at some of our other resources, because we have a range of really top quality education resources. There's things like the Easy Money game that is accessed by tens of thousands of teachers and learners each year. Extremely popular as a simulated environment for gamified learning. Encourage you to check that out. There's Blackline Masters style printable resources. There's these videos that I didn't even get to on our YouTube channel. Then in addition to all the cashed up stuff, there's these animated videos we've created to answer questions that young people have asked us. We've got the banking one published. Our next one is about earning and first job type questions that, keep an eye on your emails or subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notified when they come up. We are constantly working to put together the highest quality resources and highest quality free resources for Australian educators and their students. Encourage you to check them out, and also check out the parent resources and point parents this way if you have those potentially difficult conversations about how to teach young people about money or how they can talk to their kids about money. Point them this way, get them to create a free parent account, and there's a whole bunch of resources that they can access and use with their young people as well. But what we're here in finalizing is the cashed up stuff. So the two most common questions we've had since launch is, number one, how do my students access the resource? So quick reminder, when the young person logs in, you add them to your course. Once you've done that, they go and log into our website. They go to the course portal and the course will appear there. They click the button, they go and log in. That's it for them. That's how they access it. But they do have to have an account on our website before they can do any of those steps. And save yourself the hassle trying to remember all that. Just remember that there's a guide for them and tell them to follow that guide. That way, your job's to enroll them. Their job is to go and access the materials. Then the second most common one we have is exactly what I just said about how do I add my students. And that is, once you create the course activation, either go into your portal to see all your activations or do it straight after you sign up. If you want to do it that way, that you create the activation and then straight away you go and add your students into the course. Once you get into there, sign in, go to the learners, use their email address and add them in. That's all you need to do for them to appear in here. They'll appear in your course, and then as soon as they go and sign in via our website, they'll appear on your learners list, and you'll be able to see how they're progressing, and give little prompts and nudges, and point them along if they're falling behind, or give congratulations if they're racing ahead. And you can see insights into everything that your students are doing. The amount of data that is in the platform is incredibly rich, and you have all the instructions available to you on that teacher guide to dig through all of those different elements that I've covered today, and many that I haven't, just because we could be sitting here for the next couple of hours going into the really nitty gritty of what Cashed Up can do from data and analytics and insights point of view. But that's me done with the introduction of Cashed Up. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw out a quick poll. If you could answer that, that would be fantastic. And then otherwise, throw any last questions in that you've got. And I'll say thank you very much for being here to attend this and view this live. Appreciate your dedication to the financial literacy education of your students, and the same if you're watching the replay. Thank you very much for everything you're doing and investing the time and effort into exploring this resource. Oh, I see a question coming in, so let me put the poll up. It's an anonymous poll. Just helps us understand how we've gone with the session and presentation on the resource. All right, so I can see one there from Sarah. Just give me a chance to read that. All right, I'll read it out because those who are watching the recording won't be able to see it. So I have a student that is on a highly modified IEP. Are there options for that student to complete any of these, or something similar that will provide a reward or acknowledgement for completion? The take charge of spending concept is something I'm currently working with this student on, as they have little concept of money due to a lack of exposure and experience. Parent does it all. That's not an uncommon thing either. And this student is in year 12 next year, so it would be really helpful to have something to engage with that helps expose the student and build an understanding of spending and saving money. Fantastic question, and amazing that you got that insight right on hand with the student. You've obviously dedicated a lot of time and effort into that, Sarah. The simple answer is that I would point you towards the Cashed Up resource, and if the concern is around comprehension, or the amount of text that's in there, please do explore some of those screen reader pieces of software, because they will read the content to the student, which means that it takes out some of that barrier if the reading literacy element is part of what the problem or concern is. But in terms of really heavily modified to individual learners, that is because we work nationally, it's a little bit out of scope in terms of what we can do. But what I would say is that if you have specific things that you note are challenging for that student, or for students who are in a similar situation, please let me know. Please send that feedback through. And when we're doing our revisions, we can definitely have a look at it. So Jen has just put a mention in there that Help a Bird is a great free extension for accessibility on Edge and Google, in case that helps. Yeah, so it does get tricky in that situation, Sarah. Thank you, Jen, for that. It does get tricky in that situation. I worked in environments where I had sometimes 2/3 of my students on IEPs in the Queensland education system. So I get exactly where you're coming from. I don't have a way that you can easily modify the existing resource. I'm hoping that through some of those tools that can save them having to read and use that oral comprehension might help. But I don't have everything, I'm sorry, in that regard.
Yeah, it was more I like the Essie money game, but it's a bit too advanced, and then these small modules, but it's not in enough depth in terms of actually having this made up practice of earning money and spending money the way that Essie does. Sort of,
Yeah.
is there a way that you could sort of utilize a little bit of both?
My suggestion, and it comes from one of the teachers who did it in pilot, is to sort of use the two resources to complement each other. So
Yeah.
if the student is engaging in something in Easy Money, conceptually look at maybe the more detailed view of the Cashed Up course, rather than just the four element summary, but look at what's actually in the overview, or create yourself a parent or young person, sorry, not parent, create yourself a young person account with a different email address, and you'll be able to jump in as a learner and really dig into what they see in the content elements. I should mention as well, though, what you can do too is you can see all of the content for the course the same as the students can. You just can't like answer the questions because you're the facilitator. You can see it and you can see what the answers are, but you can't, you're not going to get a micro credential as the facilitator. But I'd probably suggest I'm leaning on other people's expertise there and what they've done. I'd look at using and leveraging the two. It's a great question, and I know it's a very real and difficult thing to
Look, when you're
navigate.
looking at year 11, year 12 math content, because I also do math, that is one of the topics, particularly like so they do it in year 10, and then again in year 12, you're looking at
Yep.
superannuation and budgeting and planning, and they actually have a PSMT. I know, for example, for grade 11 essential, that is you want to purchase a car, how do you go about saving for it? And so she can't do those things, and I'm wondering, well, can I use this as a really awesome supplement for a money-based assessment task, essentially? And that's sort of, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And look, I hope you can. In all honesty, like, that context and those learners better than anybody. And I would say I think you should be able to, especially as those further resources come on board and you're looking at those like getting towards course 6 where it's into those real school leavery adulting type concepts.
Yeah.
They're definitely in there. And I hope with like the way the LMS works and the fact that there is that screen reader availability that that element works as well.
Is
That
it
it
possible
can sort of fill
to,
that gap.
within each of the modules, is it possible to assign just specific sections within it, or is it the whole thing that they get assigned and have to complete?
So they get enrolled into the whole thing. So
Yep.
if you want them to get that micro credential, they do need to complete all of the content. But if you're just looking, I shouldn't say just, but if you're looking at it in the vein of, I only want the student to do this section where it might be budgeting or it might be the buying a car,
Yeah.
as examples of potential content, that's something that you could easily direct them to. And you'd be able to, you'd be able to still see them as a learner. You'd be able to see their responses to the tasks because as they're doing that element, that's what's going to appear in their learner profile. So when you're looking at the marking and their progress, you'd be able to see how they're going through that section. But there isn't like a micro version of the
Yeah.
course that just does that one element.
You can't assign just tasks.
No,
Okay.
no, they get enrolled into the entire course, and then that level of micromanagement is not the right word, but I can't think of what the right term is. But that level of management really does rely on the teacher to be directing that the learner into those spaces.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Sarah, because we're going to put the replay up on YouTube, and I can put this out or leave it in. Do you mind if I leave this in? I'm asking just because it's got your webcam on.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check first because I don't ever want to do that to anyone with having yourself pop up on YouTube. Because what you said and the questions and the content you covered, I'm certain that there will be heaps of other teachers who'll benefit from what you had to share. So thank you.
A huge gap, and that this could potentially be an amazing filler for these people that are on IEPs, because it gives them their own sense of agency as well.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic point that you've made, and there is quite a few. Like we had some, we had quite a few teachers as we were doing the piloting. We spread ourselves into like rural, remote, regional parts of Australia. So there was definitely the similar context to what you're talking about, where that exact sort of juggle was being done to try and maximize the benefit for the student, but also still make it an achievable benefit as well.
Yeah.
So thank you. I think I might wrap up on that one because that's a perfect place for us to land on looking at the real world applications. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone who's watched the recording. Keep an eye on your emails and you'll get the recording as soon as it's available. And otherwise, check out the resources, spread the word. Easy Money was that Sarah mentioned is the gamified learning environment, again, mapped to the Australian curriculum that's available on our website through the Educator Hub. Please do check it out. But the main thing is cashed up for the moment for this session. Please go check it out. Please spread the word, and let's get the traction and engagement on a fantastic resource that we're so excited to bring to life and share with everybody. But thank you all. Appreciate the time this afternoon, especially with the different time zones. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or further elements that you want to discuss with me or any member of the team, or if you want us to do some little PDs or anything around this topic with our resources for your staff. I can organize to do that virtually with you as well. It's all part of what I do in my job. So let me know if I can help any further. Thanks, everybody.